What is up, people, and welcome to the recap of my week 11 and 12 of my series Powerlifter to Weightlifter. In this series, I'm trying to transition from a slow powerlifter to a hopefully not so slow weightlifter. As in every week recap, Maike is going to ask me some questions. We're going to go through my weeks 11 and 12, see how they went, what went good, what went not so good, and of course, we're gonna share some learnings and share some things that happened during the weeks. So now, enjoy the video and stay tuned.
As per our usual start, we are obviously interested how you are feeling after the week 11 and week 12, especially how your hips are doing. And for our new joiners, Jonas had some hip issues in week 7 and 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Started in week 9, and then in week 10 we started the rehab, and basically the rehab only lasted for 1 week since we were able to reduce the pain. In week 10 on Monday the pain was like an 8 out of 10, and then during the week it vanished to a 0 out of 10, so I was able to train normally again in week 11, which you're seeing here in this video. And after now training throughout week 11 and 12, the pain basically stayed away. It didn't flare up again. So how I'm trying to avoid the pain flaring up again is basically focusing a little bit more on my warm-ups, focusing on properly training external and especially internal rotation of my hip, which I didn't do as much as I should have done it in the past. So I think that's basically what's keeping me healthy at this point.
Okay, so good to hear that you are not feeling any hip pain as of now. If you want to see more details on that specific topic, make sure to watch our previous video where we went into more details and also showed a few of Jonas' rehab exercises which you've done to recover within a week, which was actually super fast. So now looking back to the past 2 weeks, what was the main feedback which you got from your coach and which you want to work on over the next upcoming weeks towards your competition?
As you noticed during my last video, I got a little bit sloppy and didn't take as much or didn't focus as much as I should have on my clean pull, so I didn't focus on the full extension. That's why I try to tackle this issue specifically now during the weeks 11 and 12. So I try to always, in my cleans but also in my clean pulls, I try to focus on pulling the bar high, focusing on having a full extension in my hip. That was also the main feedback I got from my coach, that I should focus on this, and I think it went quite good now during the weeks 11 and 12. Also, he gave me feedback already on my week 11 performance. He said that I should be more patient in my clean pull. Basically at this point I'm starting a pull really fast already from the floor, but I should be more patient from the floor. I should be also more patient in the knee area, and then only when I've reached the middle of my quad basically I am supposed to pull a little bit harder and basically generate all the speed. That's what he has feedbacked me at this point. Also, he has given me props on my front rack position. You're seeing this in week 12 at the end, that it got already quite a bit better, so I'm able to put all of my fingers around the bars, so staying in this position can also be quite tricky. I wasn't able to do this at the beginning. I was only able to hold it with like 2 or 3 fingers, and now I'm a lot more stable in this position. So yeah, these 2 points are basically main feedback aspects I got from my coach.
Speaking of week 12 and day 3, what happened there? I think you were pretty roasted during the training session. You want to give some background on this one?
Yes, so that was interesting. The night prior to my session, I actually attended a little party in my hometown. I was expecting it to be a lot more quiet, and yeah, it's escalated a little bit in terms of the amount of alcohol that was consumed during that night. So that was not ideal, and also having quite a heavy squat day for me, and then also an overhead squat day. on the next day, which is not ideal, was quite tricky. So basically in the end I had to skip a few sets, or I had to basically skip my last set of front squats and skip 2 sets of my clean pull, since I was not feeling good. I was feeling obviously drained, but then also not very good, and I couldn't perform. So that's what I also told my coach, and he was like, okay, we're not pro athletes, so it's okay to skip some sets here and there when you're attending social events. But of course that shouldn't happen too often. But it was still fun. And now during the week 13, where we at this point now, it went a lot better already. So yeah.
And still good if you got positive feedback on your front rack position on that specific day. So I mean, in that regards, good performance still, even though you partied until late night and had a little bit more alcohol. All right. I think with that said, also you had some change in scenery given the fact that you went to your hometown. So any specific interesting facts on that gyms which you've chosen to train at?
Yes, so if you're following us for a couple of weeks already, you've seen during I think it was the week 3, 4, and 5, I think, we were training at the driveway of Mike's parents. So we were training in our hometown, basically in a freestyle setting. And now during the last 2 weeks, we've been home as well, so in the same location basically. And my plan was to check out a new gym which had a weightlifting platform, weightlifting bars, bumper plates, and it looked quite promising. Still, when I turned up on Sunday at around like 4 or 5 p.m., the gym was like closed already, since they close on 4 p.m. on a Sunday, which is not usual here in Munich or in other gyms that we've been to. That was actually not ideal, so I had to go to another commercial gym, which basically does not have proper weightlifting bars, plates, platforms, and this is what you're seeing there in the video. So I was not able to drop the weights, the bar wasn't spinning properly, so it was interesting to train in this gym where we...
Which week and which day was it, so that you can refer to it?
Yeah, that was actually in week 11, day 3. So yeah, that was actually the gym where I started training around 10 years ago. That was quite interesting to be back there and to be training there in this gym with a completely different training style, because back in the days I was training more towards, or my goal was to be like a physique athlete or to just look good, and performance didn't really care. But it was interesting to be back there and to train there. Even though the equipment wasn't ideal, the training session was still good, and also my coach said it absolutely makes sense to train in commercial gyms some days where the equipment isn't ideal, so you have to focus even more on your technique, being proficient and being good. That was day 3 of week 11, and then obviously during the upcoming sessions I went back to Mike's driveway and trained there, since we also have a new platform there. The equipment and the setting there has improved a little bit, so it was also quite nice to train there, and we could basically train properly for these 2 weeks that we stayed in our hometown.
Nice. Now, there are just a few weeks left until the first week of October. I think a little bit more than 1.5 months maybe. Do you have already some ideas for a singlet? Because I think you need to buy also a new singlet, right?
Yes, so I still have my old Titan Triumph, I think the singlet is called, from my powerlifting days. But obviously this singlet isn't ideal for weightlifting, since I think it's way too thick and way too slim fitting. So the material is also a lot tighter and a lot harder than the weightlifting singlets. So I'm currently in the market for a new weightlifting singlet. I've also looked at some brands already. I've seen that the Nike singlet is quite nice, the plain black one. I've seen that the Virus singlets are also quite good looking. When being at some competitions, I've also seen a lot of people wearing this Virus singlet, so this looks quite nice. Still, if you do have some recommendations for good singlets, please just let us know in the comments, and I'm happy to check out all the recommendations and all the singlets that you've experienced training with, competing with, and also what would be interesting for me is how long they actually last, since I've talked to some people and they had like cheaper Adidas singlets, and they said like, okay, they only last for like a few competitions because they rip open in the leg area. I think Micah also has an Adidas singlet and it's still fine. Like, how many competitions did you have already?
Well, I think maybe 3 or 4. I think last year, yeah, maybe a little bit more, something up to 5 competitions. But I have to admit that the seam, which is a little bit above my glute, is loosening a little bit. I think it's still fine because it's double. There was a double seam, but that I realized after a few times washing my singlet. So we'll see how long it still lasts. But honestly, the leg area for me is still fine because it's nice that they also have very thick material on your quads. So it's not ripping open for me. So for me, it's still okay. But just the seam is something which I noticed a couple of weeks back.
Okay. All right, so if you have any recommendations, please let us know in the comments, and I'm happy to check out all your suggestions. But apart from that, thanks for watching. That's it for the recap today of my week 11 and 12. I've only now at this point have like 8 weeks left. We're closing in on the actual competition, so it's getting quite interesting in terms of training. It's also interesting how my training is going to change, how the exercises, the amount of sets and reps are going to change during the next weeks. If you're curious how it changes, make sure to tune in for our next episodes, basically dropping in 2 weeks. Until then, stay healthy and peace out.